So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to the Euro Den, your cozy corner for all things Eurovision. Now, please make yourselves comfortable, settle in, and welcome the Den Master of this podcast, your host, Joseph Mendy.
Hallo and guten Tag, comrades. Joseph Mendy reporting for duty as Den Master on this, the biggest week of them all on the European music calendar. We have arrived at Eurovision week, and the Euro Den is open for the next 6 days as we go through the agony and the ecstasy of the Eurovision Song Contest 2026 together. Today we will be previewing semi-final 1 with a look at the running order, my ranking of the songs taking part, and making some predictions. Are you sitting comfortably? Good, then we'll begin. Well, we finally made it. Way back in the autumn on the 1st of September, a new Eurovision season began. Over 5 months, countries have been busy with national selections and internal selections. In the last 2 months, the chosen artists have been busy doing the rounds in pre-parties across Europe. Last week, they rehearsed their songs on stage, and on Sunday, they walked the turquoise carpet at the opening ceremony. Now it is time for the real work to start, as the 70th anniversary edition of the biggest music competition in the world officially kicks into high gear. But just before we start looking ahead to the shows that's about to unfold, let us learn a bit more about the host country for this year's Eurovision Song Contest, Austria. Let's start with some of the basic information. The capital city is Vienna. The official language is German. The currency is the euro, but before adopting the euro, they had shillings. And the population is about 9,107,338 people. Now, here are 10 fun facts about Austria, which I found on the BBC Bite Size website. One, it's a landlocked country, which means it's completely surrounded by other countries, but it has no coastline, as it has no access to a sea or an ocean. Many countries in Europe are landlocked, but when it comes to Austria, it's bordered by 8 countries: Germany, Czechia, Slovakia, Hungary, Slovenia, Italy, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein. Number 2 is the birthplace of famous composers. Says one such example is Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, whose opera The Magic Flute is the inspiration behind this year's Eurovision theme music. He wrote everything from operas, as I mentioned, and symphonies. There are other famous composers, including Johann Strauss II, known as the Waltz King, for composing Viennese waltzes. And outside of music, Austria is also the birthplace for many other famous names: Sigmund Freud, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and one of the country's most infamous former citizens, the dictator that is Adolf Hitler. And he's the reason why World War II kicked up a fuss and everything. Anyway, Austria is also where The Sound of Music was filmed. One of the biggest musicals of all time. The Sound of Music is based on a memoir of Maria von Trapp and tells the story of Maria, who's the governess of a large family and undecided about becoming a nun. This was set in 1938. The film, which was released in 1965, stars Julie Andrews. And it's the hills in Austria, primarily filmed in Salzburg, that sets the backdrop. Number 4, a lot of the country is alpine. the large mountain range in the middle of Europe. The Alps are spread across 8 countries, including Austria, France, Monaco, Italy, Switzerland, Liechtenstein, Germany, and Slovenia as well. Thousands head to different parts of the Alps every year to do everything from sightseeing to skiing, snowboarding, and more. A high percentage of Austria's land area is covered by the Alps, with its highest peak being 3,798 meters. That's 12,461 feet. The highest peak in Austria is called Großglockner. It was first climbed back in 1800. It is not only for its beautiful cities and Alps, but also its local cuisine, with Wiener Schnitzel, a delicious breaded veal, for those who don't know, and Apfelstrudel dessert. But it's home to the oldest restaurants in Europe, called the St. Peter Stiftskulinarium. The St. Peter Stiftskulinarium. That could be a while to pronounce. Located in Salzburg, it's been operating since AD 803. It is also home to the oldest zoo in the world, known as the Schönbrunns Zoo, or the Schönbrunns Zoo. Or to put it more simply, the Vienna Zoo. Established back in 1752, it's the world's oldest zoo still in operation, and it's within a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It calls home to many animals, such as penguins and koalas, called Vienna Zoo their home. It's the world of ice giants, as well as oldest restaurants and oldest zoo. It has the largest ice cave in the world, located in the Hochkogel Mountain near Werfen. The Eisriesenwelt spans an incredible 26 miles, and the name translates as the world of ice giants. It was completely unknown until the end of the 19th century. Now, those who celebrate Christmas might have come across a snow globe or two. Well, do you know where those snow globes were invented? They were invented in Austria. The man behind it was Erwin Percy back in 1900. A surgical instruments mechanic, Percy originally came up with the idea by accident when trying to improve the brightness of a light bulb. Little did he know he would be creating a Christmas staple for many a household. And finally, Austria is known for its indoor ski slope. Although the first recorded indoor ski slope was born in Berlin in 1927, it was long until one opened in the Austrian capital of Vienna. Opened that same year, it was one of the first centres to use an artificial mix of material with likeness to snow to take the sport indoors. So Austria has a strong connection to the Alps, and it has an indoor ski slope. So that's basically everything and all the fun facts about Austria, our host country for Eurovision 2026.
You're listening to the Euro Den, the cozy corner of the Eurovision Song Contest.
Now, let's get into the real business of the Eurovision Song Contest. As you already know, 35 countries have made the pilgrimage to Vienna, all hoping to bring home the championship for their nation. Tonight, we will see 15 of them take to the stage in semi-final 1, along with 2 of the automatic qualifiers. We will now reacquaint ourselves with the countries performing in tonight's show, and a look at the running order. The allocation of the countries, don't forget, was all determined by a draw held back in January, with the exact running order being put together early last month. So, the countries performing tonight are, we have opening the show, it's Moldova, with Satoshi singing Viva Moldova, followed by Felicia with My System for Sweden, then Andromeda by Lelek for Croatia, followed by Achilles with Ferto for Greece. In slots number 5 is Portugal with Bandidos de Cante singing Rosa. Georgia next with former junior Eurovision champions Bezikabi with their song On Replay. Then the first of 2 automatic qualifier showcase performances given to us by Sal Da Vinci of Italy with Per Sempre Si. Next is Linda Lampenius and Petter Parkkonen with Lia Kinhetsin for Finland. Nova Zora by Tamara Zhikovic is next up for Montenegro, followed by Vanilla Ninja, who represented Switzerland in 2005. Now they're back performing for their native Estonia with their song Too Epic to Be True. Next comes Noam Betan with his song Michelle for Israel at number 10. Then Sarah Engels with her song Fire. That's the second of our showcase performances for Germany. Then the last 5 semi-finalists are Asila with Dancing on the Ice from Belgium. Then Lion Seeker with Solo Quero Mas for Lithuania. Then Senhit making her 3rd appearance as a Eurovision contestant, this time performing the song Superstar featuring Boy George for San Marino. Then, having missed out on 2020 after that year's contest was cancelled due to COVID, and having waiting for so many years, Alicia finally gets her chance to represent Poland with her song Pray. She'll be in slot number 14, and then last but not least, it's Serbia with the song Kraj Mene, performed by Lavina. Of the 15 semi-finalists, only 10 of them will earn that distinction of qualifying for the grand final on Saturday night, meaning the other 5 will have to sling the hooks because they will be eliminated from the competition. How do we decide who stays and who goes? Well, the results are determined by a 50-50 ratio between the national juries and the international viewers. For the semi-finals, a country can only vote in the semi-final it is competing in. It is not possible to vote in both semi-finals, and that applies to the automatic qualifiers too. They can only vote in one of the 2 semi-finals. They can't do both, so it's a one or the other scenario here. But for those voting from non-participating countries part of the rest of the world vote, that doesn't apply to you lot, because you get to vote in both semi-finals. Plus, the rest of the world voting window will open at approximately midnight on the day of each semi-final. So, at the time of recording, that voting window for the rest of the world is open right now, and will remain open until the live shows begin. And voting will freeze just 1 minute before the live show commences, before reopening once the last song has been performed. You'll then have around 18 minutes to cast your final votes along with the viewers in Europe before the voting closes for everybody. Of course, the same will apply to the grand final too, where the voting will open at midnight on the day of the grand final for the rest of the world. But everyone in Europe will have to wait until the live show to cast their votes. So, and once all the votes have been logged, checked and verified, that's when we have that nerve-wracking moment when we discover the 10 finalists. In the last episode, we looked at different stats, including qualification weights and current shrieks. I'm going to bring those particular stats up again, but this time focusing on the countries in semi-final 1. And we'll do this in order of the winning order that they'll be performing in. So let's start with Moldova first of all. They have a 67% qualification rate, qualifying 12 times in 18 attempts. They have a shriek of -1 because they didn't qualify in their last attempt in 2024. Sweden have a 93% qualification shriek, qualifying 14 out of 15 times, with a shriek of +11, 2010 being the only time they failed to qualify. Croatia have a 44% weight, 8 out of 18 times. They have a -1 because they didn't qualify with Marco Bosniak last year. Greece have an 83% qualification weight, qualifying 15 times in 18 attempts, with a +2, with Marina Sassi and Claudio making the final in the last 2 years. Next is Portugal, with a 50% qualification rate, so half the time they've been competing in semi-finals, 9 times out of 18 attempts, and they have a +5 qualification rate, 2019 being the last time they were eliminated. And then we have Georgia. They have a 47% qualification rate, 8 out of 17 times. They're on a -1 because Mariam Shengelia failed to qualify last year compared to Nutsa Buzaladze's qualification in 2024. Finland, they have a qualification rate of, 60%. So 12 times out of 20. And they have a +5 streak, 2019 being their last non-qualification. Montenegro, of all the participating countries in the Eurovision Song Contest, they have the lowest qualification weight, only 15%. So they've only qualified twice in 13 attempts. There's been 2014 and 2015. They have the longest non-qualification streak with a -6. Estonia next, they have a +4, with 2021 being the last time they failed to make the final. They've qualified 11 times in 21 attempts, so 52% qualification rate. Israel have a +3, because the last time they failed to make the final was in 2022. They qualified 12 out of their 19 attempts, with making it 63% of the time. Next up is Belgium. Belgium. Well, yeah, there you are. 40%, 8 out of 20 times they've qualified. And they have a -2 qualification streak because Musti and Wed Sebastian have both been eliminated in the semi-finals over the last 2 years. Lithuania have a +5 qualification streak, last being eliminated in 2019. They have a 65% success rate in qualifying for the final, making it 13 times in 20 attempts. San Marino have made the final 4 times out of their 15 attempts, making that a 27% success rate. And as they qualified for the grand final last year with Gabri Ponte, their qualification streak is a +1. Poland, a +1 for them, with Justyna Styczkowska making the final, compared to Luna the year prior, who failed to get to that final. Poland as a whole, their qualification rate is 44%. 8 times they made the final out of their 18 attempts. And last but not least, Serbia. Now, Serbia failed to make the grand final last year with Prince. That was one of 4 times that Serbia made the final. So out of their 16 attempts, they've qualified 12 times, making that a weight of 75%.
From Eurovision to Junior Eurovision and all the tidbits in between. It's all here in the Euroden. Want even more Eurovision goodness? Follow the Euroden on Instagram at Euroden_pod.
The next thing I'm going to do now is to use my ranking of the whole contest to make up my semi-final 1 ranking. So I did the ranking of all 35 songs, and based on how I ranked them, I used that ranking to create my ranking for semi-final 1. So excluding semi-final 2 and the automatic qualifying countries, focusing just on the semi-final 1 countries, the ranking for semi-final 1 is based on the my ranking of the whole contest. Community rankings will follow in a second after my 10 personal qualifiers. This is based on the studio tracks, though, not with taking the live performances or what we see in rehearsals. This is based on the songs in the studio version. And I'm only focusing on the 10 qualifying positions, not the 5 non-qualifying positions. So just the top 10. So and this is from top to bottom. So my 10 qualifiers are Greece, Georgia, Finland, Moldova, Sweden, Montenegro, Serbia, Lithuania, Estonia, and Croatia. But let's check some community rankings. Starting on my Eurovision scoreboard. Again, sticking with the top 3. We'll go from bottom to top. We have number 10, Lithuania, with 17,099 points. Georgia, number 9, with 17,820 points. Belgium at number 8, with 18,214 points. Serbia at number 7, 19,548 points. Moldova, number 6, 27,531 points, 551 points even. Montenegro, number 5, 32,422 points. Greece at number 4 with 38,503 points. Croatia in third with 39,094 points. Sweden in second with 46,782 points. And Finland at number 1 with 58,092 points. So my Eurovision scoreboard has Finland, Sweden, Croatia, Greece, Montenegro, Moldova, Serbia, Belgium, Georgia, and Lithuania as the 10 qualifiers. But this is probably based on the studio tracks only, from lots of things. So not a lot of change in the community rankings. Let's turn to Euro Party, where the top 10 are. But I won't go through the scores here because it'll take forever for me. But from top to bottom, Finland, Sweden, Greece, Croatia, Montenegro, Israel, Moldova, Belgium, Georgia, and Serbia are the 10 qualifiers. And on ESC Discord, the global ranking has these 10 qualifying: Finland, Sweden, Croatia, Montenegro, Greece, Moldova, Serbia, Georgia, Lithuania, and Belgium. So let me just repeat the community's top 10 one more time. And I'll repeat mine as well, actually. So let's start. So my qualifiers are Greece, Georgia, Finland, Moldova, Sweden, Montenegro, Serbia, Lithuania, Estonia, and Croatia. On the community, in my Eurovision scoreboard, Finland, Sweden, Croatia, Greece, Montenegro, Moldova, Serbia, Belgium, Georgia, and Lithuania. In Europarty, the top 10, Finland, Sweden, Greece, Croatia, Montenegro, Israel, Moldova, Belgium, Georgia, and Serbia. And on my Eurovision scoreboard, Finland, Sweden, Croatia, Montenegro, Greece, Moldova, Serbia, Georgia, Lithuania, and Belgium. But it's one thing to have your personal qualifiers, but it's another to actually try to predict the 10 that will actually go through to the final. But that's exactly what I have done to the best of my abilities. So here's that prediction, and I've done this in no particular order. So this is not necessarily the prediction on where I think each country will finish, but this is just me predicting the 10 countries that I think will go through. And this is only the top 10, and this is in no order. So I've done this in a random order. So my prediction for the 10 finalists from semi-final 1 are as follows: Poland, Serbia, Montenegro, Croatia, Sweden, Finland, Israel, Lithuania, Moldova, and Greece. Finally, for today, how about we look at the press poll and the audience poll, which was held yesterday after the dress rehearsal for the press poll and the jury show for the audience poll. So let's start with the press poll, which was done by ESC Extra, who asked the members of the press on which countries had their favourite dress rehearsal performance. And the top 10 are as follows, from top to bottom, ignoring the scores: Greece, Finland, Moldova, Portugal, Sweden, Croatia, Lithuania, San Marino, Poland, and Serbia. That's what we had for the press poll, 89 responses. And let's turn now to the audience poll, which was brought to us by ESC Gabe, 12 points from America, ESC Extra, ESC Insight, That's Eurovision Site, Merci Cherie Podcast, and vdan.design. They've asked members of the arena audience, just as they were leaving the venue, of which countries were their favourites from last night's jury show. 3,059 responses came through for this audience poll, and the top 10 were as follows from top to bottom: Moldova, Finland, Greece, Poland, Sweden, Croatia, Serbia, Israel, San Marino, and Estonia. So if it was down to the audience, those would have been the 10 that will have qualified for the final. But that's just after the jury show, and the only real votes that were cast that evening were that of the national juries. The international viewers' votes will be coming through during tonight's show. And that brings this preview show to a close. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode, and hopefully it has whet your appetite for the week ahead. It all gets underway tonight at 8 p.m. British Summertime, or 9 p.m. Central European Summertime. And it will be broadcast by the participating broadcasters of all the countries taking part. And for international viewers, it will be shown on the Eurovision YouTube channel if available to you. Make sure to check your time zones for the exact start times wherever you are watching the show. Another thing you can make sure to do is to head to the comments section wherever you are listening and leave a rating and a review if you've enjoyed this episode. And if you want more Eurovision fun, the Euroden's Instagram page is the place to go at Euroden_pod. That really is all we have time for today. Enjoy the first semi-final tonight, and we'll reconvene in the den tomorrow to reflect on the results. Bye-bye everyone, or as they say in Croatia, Zbogom. See you tomorrow.
And with that, this episode of the Euroden has come to an end. Hope you'll be back next time for another episode.